Boom, boom, boom. Welcome to Franchise Mode. We just dropped another banger today on this episode. I had one of my closest friends today. It was a really good episode. We got a chance to talk a little Dallas Cowboys, little NFC East, and some analytics. So if you're on the Apple or the Spotify for the full episode, make sure to follow us. Make sure to subscribe to us. And if you're on the YouTube and you're just watching one of our clips, continue to like, continue to share, and continue to subscribe. And here's the full episode. Okay, so now we're at our analytic segment. This is for the people that are really interested in the number side of football and beyond what you see. So the first question I have to you is just, what is the most efficient play in football?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. So the best play in football is actually a perfectly blocked run. The difference between a play where you block the run perfectly, and no one makes a mistake, and somebody makes a mistake is like 0.6 of an expected point. And if you could run, and I think this tips a cap to coaches, if you run a run play perfectly, it's the best play in football. You'd be better than the average your average play would be better than the average play of the best offense in the entire league. The problem is like perfectly blocked run plays only happen about a third of the time, a little bit more than that. But like the Washington Commanders last year were actually second in the NFL. 42% of their run plays were perfectly blocked. To my point about Gibson and how he struggled last year was didn't take advantage of those quite as well. The best play in football, if you can't tell me, you can't earmark me, if it'll be successful, is a pass over the middle of the field on play action, right? So because that just evens the playing field. So I think about Taylor Heineke last year, averaged 5.9 yards per attempt when he couldn't use play action. He had 9 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. On play action, he had 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, over 9 yards pass attempts. Like if you use play action, every quarterback becomes good, right? Every quarterback becomes good. It's a cheat code. It's the corner 3 of football. It's the best, and the reason I say it's the corner 3 of football is that you can't run it on 3rd and 7, right? The same way you can't manufacture a corner 3 when there's 3 seconds left on the shot clock, right? That corner 3 has to come early in the possession basketball. Your play action passes have to come early in the possession in football. And that's why, going out of your way to make those decisions on early downs is extremely important. A close second, by the way, mm-hmm. and this will surprise people because usually analytics, we're all talking about passing and stuff like that. A run play on like 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 3 is a very good football play.
Really?
If you are of a worldview like I'm going to go for 4th down, my Chiefs lost to the AFC title game to the Patriots in 2018. James White had like 3 first downs on carries on 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4. Like Belichick knows this. If you are going to go for 4th and 2 or shorter, you should run on 3rd and 4. Because usually defenses are light and you can get them. You can pick up an easy first down running the football to a running back.
Wow, that's actually okay. So that's something I think that we all learned right there. Now going with the play action thing. So just tell me if this is true or not. I've heard that now we talked about Zeke earlier. We said that linebackers are more likely to bite if a running back like Zeke or Derrick Henry is in the box. But regardless, even if you use play action when the running back isn't elite like a Zeke or a Derrick Henry or Joe Mixon, does the play action still work?
Yes, that has been one of the key analytic findings that we've seen for a long time. I think it's actually starting to go, that truth is starting to go away when you look at like tracking data. So what I've noticed in the tracking data is that linebackers are not moving as much as they used to.
Yeah.
Meaning like, teams are just saying like, you look at the Indianapolis Colts with Bobby Okereke and Darius Leonard, and they're like, they just stopped biting on play action last year. Like they just retreat on every single play. They're willing to give up a couple yards here and there in the run game because they don't want to give up the middle of the field. You do see teams bite more on Derrick Henry play action, Zeke play action, stuff like that. So you are seeing like that happen a little bit. But for the most part, teams are starting to like wise up to that and not bite on play action as much because it does work. Historically, it's worked no matter who your running back is.
Yeah. Okay. So staying with that same thing, Brandon Staley, he got a lot of flack last year. I think he did a really good job with the Chargers. I think the personnel maybe wasn't there. So on the defensive side of the ball, can you explain the bend don't break defensive model? How you think that now they've added with Joseph Day and Khalil Mack, how that could possibly improve in year 2?
Yeah, Bryce Callahan too is a corner from Denver, Chicago, who's been wonderful in the slot when healthy. That's going to be a big one. J.C. Jackson from the Patriots will be big as well for them. They already have Nasir Adderley and Derwin James and Asante Samuel Jr. So that, I mean, they just put but they don't have great linebackers. And so, one of the things, you have to play lighter boxes in the NFL. But you need players who can then eat up blockers. When you play lighter boxes in the NFL, you shift the responsibility in the run defense from your linebackers to your defensive line. And last season, their defensive line, they had an older, kind of washed up Linval Joseph. They just were not sturdy there, and they gave up a lot of, they sort of pressed the boundary of, bend but don't break. And ultimately, when it came down to it against, Houston in week, I believe 17 or 16 or 17, and then the Vegas Raiders in week 18, they just were not good enough in run defense to stop teams when they had to be. So I think that they'll be in a better place come pretty soon here.
Okay, my last question. This is a question I think it's very sports radio hot takey, but it's just, is there still lockdown corners in the NFL? Like, I feel like cornerback is a position that the average fan doesn't know how to evaluate and look at. So just what is your take on that? Are there still lockdown corners in the NFL?
If there is, I think it's so fleeting that it's really hard to pay for it. So Jalen Ramsey's a great example. They paid dearly for him, both money wise and draft pick capital wise, and he's been mostly good. But even him, he's not a sit on an island like Darrelle Revis and stop people kind of corner. He's a play in the slot. Jair Alexander's like this, Marlon Humphrey's like this. All the great corners in the league are sort of actually matchup guys, that more so than they are shutdown guys. So I would say no. And I would say, even if it is, it's so hard to identify. It's sort of like the question of, does momentum exist? I think anybody that's played games, believes that there's momentum. Yeah. Can you define it? Can you define it? Can you model it? Can you predict it? All those things, I think the answer is, as of now, no. So does shutdown cornerback play exist? Yeah. I mean, Patrick Surtain Jr. was great last year, and he did all those things. Will he do it this year? And will he do it for the next 5 years? And if you pay him $100 million over 4 years, will he do it for those 4 years? I think the answer is no. And so you're much better off building, much like the Bengals did last year, but also the Rams too. You're much better off building a secondary full of pretty good players who there won't be any weak links, than building it around a player who you feel has all these traits that are really hard to sort of repeat even within the same player.
Well, yeah, that was great. Again, thanks, Eric, for coming on. You can follow him on all the social medias. I'll put it in the bio and everything. I appreciate you coming on. I think we got a chance to learn a lot today. Thanks again, Eric.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem.